The topics I've chosen to focus on in the Sustainable Strategies module are the art of listening, location as material, and infrastructures of care. I've collaborated with a drone photographer and musician to explore these themes in more detail. The work of Adam Leahy resonated with me on many levels. This beautiful and sublime cinematography highlighted the importance of humanity being intrinsically linked to nature. This link underpinning our understanding of the role we play in its longevity. The filming of the coastal landscape where I live in collaboration with a drone photographer is very closely linked to this. The intention is to show the variety, colours and history of the landscape as a call to action for us to continually be mindful of its preservation. It's an antithesis to the original use of drones in warfare and as location media. The terrain of the local landscape has elicited an ongoing dialogue and inspired the sound for the first video. The music for this was created by Chris Tolley, who I met at the start of the project and who's equally inspired by the local landscape. He wrote this piece of music in response to a painting I produced of the mudflats at John Muir Country Park. This is the footage of the web of waterways shot from above in the first film. Our shared experience of this landscape has been a profound and special outcome of the project. Listening to the landscape has played a large part in my research for this module, in terms of how to represent it in abstract form, how to portray its beauty and strength as well as vulnerability, how it shelters and protects so many species, how its visual information inspires me in my practice. I've also applied this thinking when listening to my artwork and adjusting my practices and processes in accordance with the requirements of the module and the inspirations I've gained along the way. The artists Eva Hesse and Hannelore Barron were both displaced from their homes in Germany during the war. They were ostracised from their communities for their religious beliefs, and many in their families were killed. Others took refuge in America, finding methods of survival in horrific times. The work they produced was powerful in content as a result and still resonates within our current world. They both died at a very young age but are highlighted for the significant impact they left behind. During the Sustainable Strategies module, I was asked to create an artwork which explores the notion of home for people in care. The work will form part of a poster for the foster care system. The commission is timely in its relevance to this project. I'm intrigued to consider more fully what the term home means and what happens when the traditional notions of home are lost. As a result, I identified two symbols of safety and belonging in my artistic explorations for this module. The refuge of a harbour and the shelter of a nest became critical to the development of my work. I began investigating materials which were more environmentally sustainable than the acrylics I'd used in the past. I bought natural pigments and mixed them with wax mediums to develop a range of cold wax paints. I took a course with another artist to further my knowledge and build on the new practice. The finish of the cold wax is matte in appearance with a tactile lustre similar to velvet. Initially, I experimented with abstract representations of the symbols I'd identified. I then took elements of these and trialled various colours and compositions in print. These enabled me to see what was working and enlarge selected works onto canvas. It saved time and gave me a clearer idea of what I wanted to portray. The finished works are only partially abstract, and I feel they contain too much of the symbols that I chose. The next step will be to take elements of them and make a fully abstract work inspired by the marks and forms I've used in these pieces. In an article for the website Dream Machine about Eva Hesse, it outlines how her practice changed significantly in a residency to her homeland of Germany in 1964. In an abandoned textile factory, she began to use the discarded material she found in her work. It describes how she incorporated elements of old metal and string into her paintings, which gave them a new three-dimensional quality, described as neither painting nor sculpture, but an exciting crossbreed of the two. It outlines how this complete immersion away from the daily grind of having to work in menial jobs alongside her practice in New York enabled her to push forward her practice in new ways. This has inspired me to use materials I've found along the coastline in my work. I've begun to trial this by embedding dried vegetation in between sheets of Japanese paper and using washes of ink and charcoal over the top. I particularly like the translucent nature of these and have hung them next to a window so light shines through them. This is something I'll continue to experiment with in the next module. The experimentation I've undertaken in this module has pushed forward my practice. I've used completely new materials and been surprised by the outcome. I've become clearer about what I want my art to communicate and how my dialogue with the landscape is critical to this. Going forward, I plan to continue using cold wax and also develop a series of work on fabric using natural dyes. My intention is to find an old factory or warehouse space to exhibit these for my final major project. I'd also like to continue developing links with other artists and collaborate on a multimedia exhibition. The project and its content has made me consider more fully how home exists not only externally but in all of us, in our response to what's gone before and what life has laid out for us. I feel grateful to have been able to explore this in more depth, and it's marked a positive change in my artistic practice for the future.